In our last video, we unboxed the new welding table, fab table frame jig. And if you missed that video, I'll throw a card up somewhere. You can go back and watch that unboxing. It was pretty epic. Today, we're going to get to putting the table together, tacking it, getting the legs on it, flipping it over, and getting it done. So let's get to it. So, like with anything, before you get going on this, it's pretty imperative that you read the instructions. In my case, I'm the first to get one of these tables from Steve at Mayhem Works, but I'm going through the instructions. I'm going to tweak them a little bit, add some pictures for you guys, send them back to Steve. We'll go back and forth a couple times until they're completely finalized, but just know that I'm working to get this situated for you guys so that it's easy to follow, and plenty of pictures and stuff, because if you're like me, you're pretty visual. So what you may see in this video may slightly deviate from what's in the final instructions, but generally this is how we're going to do it. But like I said, first things first, get it unwrapped, unboxed, inventory all your parts, read the instructions, don't cut any zip ties before you read the instructions. That's very important. Alright, so first page of the instructions. That's right. It is going to be the fastest to assemble fab table, weld table, whatever you want to call it, out there. And I think I mentioned in my previous video, the only way it's going to get any faster is if you buy it pre-welded from Steve. I mean, it's virtually assembled on the crate. It does. I mean, what else do you want other than it being welded for you? He can do that too. These come from Steve bolted together. They're already clamped. You don't need to go trying to buy U-bolts and stuff like that. He's already cut out these clamps. The hardware is there. All we have to do, per the instructions, is double check everything. We're going to clean the area that we're going to tack just with some acetone and a rag, and then we're going to put a pretty healthy tack at that intersection down there where it's pre-clamped. We'll move those clamps to the other intersections, cinch them down, and we'll tack those. Alright, you guys ready? Let's do it. Now that we have our tacks where the factory clamps are, what we're going to do is move them starting from the inside, most inside part of the table, and working our way out. And we're just going to rinse and repeat until all the intersections are tacked in all four corners on the inside of the table. I'm not going to bore you guys with that footage. I'm going to get to it, and I'll bring you back once I get all those intersections done. So after a little bit of heavy tacks, I've got all the internal webbing tacked in place to the tabletop. Now what I need to do is start on the sides. For the sides, you're going to work in the middle to your way out, and you want to kind of center, left, right, because you don't want to warp this side and make it look like a banana by the time it gets to the end. So try to mitigate the warpage from the heat the best you can. Something I did come up with while I was doing this to keep track, because I did have to stop and go inside from time to time. I didn't want to forget where I was as I went along and I got each corner of the intersection. So like this one, for instance, it's tack there, tack there, tack there, tack there. Once I had all that done, I used a red Sharpie and I made a red X on it. That way I knew that that intersection was done. Following our steps in the instructions, used a couple big C-clamps. If you don't have that, you can use some bar clamps or the tube clamps. If that doesn't work, you can always get creative with some smaller clamps and some square blocks. Get your corners and everything trued up, no gaps, nice and tight. Heavy tacks, working from the middle out and bouncing around to kind of mitigate some of that warpage. But now that our ends, our sides, the top and the webbing are all kind of bonded together with those heavy tacks, it's at the point now where we can start putting our legs together. So we'll get our leg plates together per the instructions. There's some captive nuts that you have to weld on. Yeah, so we'll get that going. I'll show you guys how to do one, and then I'm gonna hustle through all. This table has 6 legs. Legs for the tables are a multi-part piece. You have one plate. You see you got hardware going through it, and you see the tabs that goes into the slots in the sides of the table. On the other side of that, you've got this rounded off square plate. That is what the legs actually weld to. So what we're going to do is cinch this hardware down, and then we're just going to run some little beads around these shouldered nuts, and that'll make them captive nuts. Once you have them on the big plate with the tabs on it, you can remove everything and then burn it in on the table. Now that we've got our leg plates welded in their appropriate positions, what we need to do is attach the legs to their top plates. This is pretty much the only part that's not like a keyed fit. There's no tab and slot. There's no hole cut for the tube to drop into. Measure like 3 times, tack first, and then burn them in. Once you get your leg parts all welded together, this is what it'll look like. This is one of the corner legs. I went the extra mile, painted my room red. Now all I need to do is bolt the leg plate to the table and then the caster to the caster plate. Well, we've got one leg done, 5 more to go. So I'll get those done, painted, and bolted on, and then bring you back once that's done. So we're making good progress, getting really close. I got all 6 legs on, bolted to the table. I got all 6 casters bolted to the legs. And then between me and 3 other people, I was able to get the table up off the pallet and everything on its side by myself, but getting it the rest of the way and up on the casters, I needed help. So I had 3 other people come and help me kind of flip it over and get it on its feet. And, well, she's pretty much done. I also went ahead and painted the underside of the table hard to tell, but it is painted black. And I did that just for extra protection and, you know, to make it look good. Not that anyone's ever going to be under there, but if they are, then they'll know I went the extra mile. Now, as far as the leveling feet go, on the tab for the caster, I welded the 1/2 by 13 nut on the bottom that Steve provides. And for the leveling feet, I went with a 1/2 by 13 by 7-inch long carriage bolt, and then an acorn nut on top of that. So you can screw this down, it'll contact the floor, nice smooth surface. It's kind of like it's got a foot built in, and you can use that to lift the table just to get it perfectly level. And then the acorn nut is just to keep sharp, you know, keep a sharp edge away from anything that may be dangling or passing by the table. I did that on all the legs, and I probably went a little overboard and went with stainless. Not really necessary, but I figured why not. So other than cleaning the top off and welding the tabs that come up through the slots and the top of the table and the sides, it's done. And that's actually an optional step. You don't have to do that. The table is fine without it. And I also got the Mayhem Metalworks banner hung up along with the Haslip Cycle Works banner. They look pretty good together, don't they? Yeah. Kind of recap here. When I bought my previous table, I did all my research, read reviews, pulled the trigger on it. I had no issues with that table, but I outgrew it. At that point, Steve from Mayhem Metalworks was not making tables yet. But now that he is, I can't recommend you go anywhere else. The fitment, the quality of the cut, the quality of the material, the forethought that goes into the plan and design for these tables is unmatched. The ease and quickness that you can put one of these tables from Mayhem Metalworks together, unparalleled. I had absolutely zero issues. I mean, zero issues. It was pre-assembled, 90% done, minus the welding. There was no fabrication. I didn't have to drill any holes. I didn't have to cut anything. It was good to go. I even triple checked the length on the legs. They were all exactly the same. All the cuts were perfectly square. You're going to be very hard pressed to find a better table than this. And if you want it built faster, like I said, just ask Steve to weld it up for you before he crates it up and ships it to you. So this table, the build minus welding on the top, is done. But the journey with this table is nowhere near complete. We have a lot of extras, like accessories, and the frame jig portion that we're going to do, and those will all be a separate video. And there's some other accessories that Steve and I are working on to get out there for you guys for these tables. And because of the size difference with this table versus the other one I had, I need to do some rearranging. So I'm going to try to get my toolbox, hopefully it'll fit, under this table. So the welder under the table, both welders under the table, gas bottles connected under the table, and make use of all the space under the table. So at the end of the day, I'll actually have more floor space available to me, even though this table is gargantuan. My workflow will be better because I'll be able to get all the way around the table, whereas before I just kind of sat at that one table and I could only come up to one edge of it. This one I'm going to be able to walk all the way around to get to everything. So this is a huge upgrade for me. This is an amazing table. Steve is a great guy. Mayhem Metalworks is above and beyond. I can't say thank you enough to those guys, especially Steve. And like I said, there will be more about this table. So if you enjoyed this or you're interested in some of those accessories and videos for that, stay tuned, they are coming. If you're interested in one of these tables, links below to Mayhem Metalworks for everything. If you don't see something you're looking for, email Steve, let him know what you're looking for, and he will hook you up. Tell him Haslip Cycle Works sent you. And, well, that's a wrap for this one, guys. Until next time, get up, get out there, and do it.